While the colossal zigzagging walls of Saqsaywaman is commonly referred to as a fortress, the early Spanish chroniclers recorded that the Inca themselves knew the complex by a far more profound spiritual designation, the Royal House of the Sun. To understand the deeper astronomical and religious meaning behind this site, which may explain the wall patterns we're about to explore, we must look to the original accounts of those who first documented Inca life. The mestizo chronicler Garcilaso de la Vega states in his foundational work Comentarios Reales de los Incas, quote, "People from Cusco knew, from ancient times, that this architectonic complex was actually a royal house of the sun." Pedro Cieza de León, a Spanish chronicler of the conquest times, states in his book The Incan Dominion that the Royal House of the Sun was located to the north of the city of Cusco, within a collado. Martin de Muria, also a Spanish chronicler, states that Saqsaywaman was at first the House of the Sun, and nowadays it is only a witness of its ruin. These unanimous accounts establish a crucial point. Before its use as a military stronghold, Saqsaywaman was considered a sacred solar complex. The original purpose provides a strong foundation for the idea that the seemingly random angles and structures you will see might not be just for defense, but could form an ancient astronomical observatory or calendar. In this video, I will explore the possibility that the famous zigzagging walls, often seen only as military defenses, contain deliberate angular patterns. The construction is renowned for its immense perfectly fitted polygonal blocks, but what if the angles formed by these massive stones and the orientation of the walls themselves are not arbitrary? What if they are, in fact, an ingenious system, a sort of stone calendar or solar observatory built into the very foundations of the structure? I'll begin by showing the orientation relative to north of the first 6 odd-numbered walls. We start with wall 1 at the western end of Saqsaywaman and then continue in sequence with walls 3, 5, 7 and so on. As we move from wall 1 at the western edge toward walls 3, 5, 7, etc., notice how the orientation relative to north gradually increases with each wall. The first 6 odd-numbered walls show a steady increase in their orientation relative to north, each one turning slightly further, but as we continue with the next 6 odd-numbered walls, the orientation gradually decreases. In other words, we have one sequence of 6 walls increasing, following by another sequence of 6 decreasing in orientation. After these 12 walls, the zigzag pattern comes to an end. The next 2 corners point inwards, as if marking the close of one cycle, perhaps even signaling the end of the calendar itself and the beginning of a different kind of reckoning. This chart is visualizing the angles of the 12 wall segments. The angle reaches its maximum value of 100.75 degrees at wall segment 6. This bar chart is illustrating how much the angle increases or decreases between each consecutive wall segment. The walls isn't the only place the number 12 is encoded at Saqsaywaman. Just nearby, the foundation of the circular structure known as Muyuk Marca exhibits the same core organizational principle. Notice how the outer ring of the structure is divided into 12 distinct radial sections. We've established that the geometry of Saqsaywaman is dominated by the number 12, from the 12 segments of the main zigzag wall to the 12 radial sections of the structure known as Muyuk Marca. This 12 is the direct link to the Incas' most fundamental organizational system, their calendar. The Inca divided their year into 12 primary periods, with each month containing a major state-sponsored festival or ritual. In the ancient Andes, the Inca were master astronomers. They carefully tracked both the solar year and the cycles of the moon. The most familiar lunar cycle is the synodic month, the time it takes for the moon to go from one new moon to the next. That cycle lasts about 29.53 days, and it's the rhythm that shapes the moon's visible phases. But there's another, lesser known lunar rhythm, the sidereal month. This one measures the moon's orbit around the Earth relative to the fixed stars, and it's slightly shorter, 27.32 days. Now here's where it gets interesting. If you multiply those 27.32 days by 12, you get roughly 328 days, a number that seems to echo something extraordinary in the Inca cosmology. According to early chroniclers, there were 328 sacred sites, or huacas, arranged along 41 seque lines radiating outwards from Cusco. Is this number just a coincidence, or did the Inca deliberately align their sacred geography with this lunar cycle?